And this evening or this closing of the day, I was especially standing on a kupuna's porch, just like this. It reminded me of my great grandmother's home in Muli'i, at Tutu Sniffin's home. It was sort of like this, and you're reminded that when you go to your tutu's house, you gotta make sure you take off your shoes for one. So I was trying to take off my shoes, but my daughters give me to look like it doesn't look nice, mom, but just so you know. So you didn't step on the aloha mat because you get licking for that. You get a pa'i for your tutu shoe if you ran in the house with your shoes. And of course, if you played in the house with a football or any games and you're stamping around in your tutu's house, you get scolding for that too. So that reminded me of why we're here. Again, Velina, come here, you find some seats, come sit down, aloha ka ohala. And then, again, a very warm aloha kako. So my kuleana for tonight, just a little bit, not kuleana, but my mana'o, is to share a little bit of my outlook, what I experienced here in our beautiful town of Kohala. Being the youngest of 6 of us, my parents, my mom, the late Marianne Neula Lim, my father, the late Elmer Kuisong Lim Sr., were both born on this beautiful place, born here on the Big Island, but in a place called Niuli'i. Kohala was my dad and my mother in Hawi. But together, our parents raised us here in our home to be proud of who we are and the things that we do. And most importantly, be proud of our Kohala. I am the youngest, or the second to the last of our siblings. We grew up in Parker Ranch, in a place called Pu'uhui on the Kohala Mountains. So some of you may not know Pu'uhui, but it's on that drive up the hill towards Waimea. We were given a home by Parker Ranch for the cowboys, and my dad was a cowboy for Parker Ranch. And while we were raised up there in Pu'uhui, we had no radio, no TV, so our mom and dad would sing to us. And that would be the beginning of our Lim family ohana. And that was the beginning of our legacy. And because our mom was a hula dancer, she came from one of Kohala's finest, one of the very first kumuhulas here in Kohala, Auntie Rose D. Mercer. So my mother was a student of hers, our mom was, and many other dancers here in Kohala, many kupuna. So my mom would teach us hula part-time. I came along later, but my sisters got a chance to really get to know and dance hula with our mom and dad. But we lived the old way, like I said, no radio, no TV. We literally had to make our bath water with hot water furo. My sisters, my 2 older sisters, were the one who would cut our kiawe wood, make sure to get everything together, and light the furo. Until today, they still give me the shakas on the side, because that was their kuleana. And they would light their furo, and we would have hot water to shower and to au. And we literally had, it was outside of our home. Our house was there in Pu'uhui, but it was one of the most beautiful places. So the introduction to Hawaiian music came this way through our parents. Just a small inkling of a little bit of my past and my childhood, but that was really the beginning of our ohana. And we only had a few albums. Believe it or not, there was only one record. It was a 45 called Get Along Little Doggy. And we still laugh. See, my sisters are shocking me because I'm telling the right stories. If I don't see anything like this, then I know I might be on the wrong one, okay? But I'm glad that they're here because I want to make sure that they are respected because through them, and they came before me, and their experience of Kohala is much more different than mine. But I'm just grateful that they are my ohana and my sisters, that they can share their mana'o as well. There's an extra mic over there just in case, guys. My sisters give me another one, that's good. Anyway, so just getting back to Pu'uhui. So along the way, hula really became a very important part of our ohana. So before I continue and kind of share our time through a little bit of chant, a little bit of oli, a little bit of mele, and to solidify a little bit of why it is important to share those things, because I look at the mana'o of our Hawaiian history being an oral history. It is passed down through chant, through oli, even our mo'okuauhau and things that was quite important to us that was passed down that way. So I'm going to impose on them because they thought they were just going to sit back, but they're not. I'm going to ask our ladies to come up here and join us. Look, I said ladies. They're pointing at 2 daughters, but I meant ladies. And if they can, I just want to open with Keola Palawali'i. And then we want to start from Pololu Valley out. And my kuleana, or my talk story today, is to share about Kohala's history through hula, through chant, and through these beautiful, these mele, the poetry of our kupuna, the poetry of our ali'i. And our kuleana is halau kavehile mamo, and I feel kuleana. I don't want to say I want to just share. It is a kuleana to make sure that we malama, for one, we protect and we take care of our ike that was shared for years. So I'm going to ask my daughters, vehile mamo, veki onalani, lokelani, kule, mahealani. Because I want to open up. Please take off your slippers and go on the lower halamat, okay? Come. Yes, you're going to come from Tutu's house. Come. These are my two daughters, my vehile mamo, veki onalani, and Ku'ule. Welcome back from Africa, Ku'ule. Hey, my lovely. Hi, Lokilani. Thank you, Lokilani. Yes. Come on. Aloha. So a part of our sharing tonight is making sure we share it through Oli and Mele, and some of these stories that you guys may or may not have known, but it's all a part of our manao of Kohala. So this first Oli would be called Ke'ula Palau Ali'ilo Amalak o Hikui Ke Kualono. Puana o vehile mamo. Ke'ula Palau Ali'ilo Amaloko Hikui Ke Kualono. O ke kiki auli lele auli. Uai no I lele akea. E na koloia maloko kea I onia no maloko mano ke kapu. Uai kea. Mahalo to our ladies. That oli is Ke'ola Palau Ali'ilo Amaloko Hiku Kiwalono. Hiki no, you can go. Mahalo. Again, a warm mahalo to our ladies. I thought it would be only proper to open up with an oli and talk to you about this and share this oli. This oli takes us into the deep valleys of our beautiful Pololu. In this oli, it talks about Hikuike Kuolono. So I'm going to share with you some of these mo'olelo of Mele that was shared with our ohana, and these come from our family collection. And I mean by family collection, it was passed on from generations to generations, as it was kuleana for our kupuna to malama, the stories that was shared to them about the birth of our ali'i, kamehameha pai'ea. And so that is what a part of today is for me, just a little bit, to make sure that I pay respect to those people first, before I continue to talk about myself in today's time. Because if we forget the past, we may not remember where we're going to go in the future, right? So just recollecting about our kupuna who once roamed this place, Kohala, that we now call home, for it was their ike, their ha, that was put upon this land. So Hikuike Kualono lived in the valleys of, lived in beautiful Avini. And in that oli, it is said she is the mother of Kahaupulani, who is the nurse of Kamehameha, or the one who nursed our ali'i Kamehameha Pai'ea. She played an important role on the night of his birth, and the planning of this child's birth was coming towards beautiful Keku'iapo'iwa. We all know that mo'olelo of the birth of our king. But the beautiful part about it, it was a family decision that was made to malama this child. And a lot of the families, or the pula of these people, still exist in our beautiful Kohala today. And that is the most important thing, because sometimes we lose identity when we live in modern day's time. And sometimes we have to take a look back and find our genealogical name or our family's name. And then we realize, oh, this is who they were, and that was important. They played an important role in the history of our home, of our beautiful Kohala. Well, Hikuike Kualono comes from the Merceburg Ohana, the Pa'e Ohana, and she was the Kahaupulani is her daughter, but she was the one who nursed Kamehameha Pai'ea in Avini. So in this oli, Hikuike Kualono was the one who could move the signs on the night of the birth of our king. As she moved the signs in the heavens above, the plan was already put into motion that the child was to be saved, we all know the same mo'olelo of the saving of our king, the birth of our king. Whether it was on the canoe, in the water, on the land, he was born. And sometimes there's different recollections for different families. But what solidifies some things for us as practitioners of hula, practitioners of mele, is we solidify that by mele and hula because we're taught, and we know it through Hawaiian history, that it is an oral history. Our mele and our songs are the one that solidify the stories of our people. So it's not too much written, and I'm not saying that some of the people who wrote things are not pololeo, not pono, but when it's passed down from family to family, there's a reason for that. And when it's passed down that way, your job as the younger ones is to listen, retain, malama, care for, make sure it's told again and again and shared over and over. In that ike, in that same light of aloha, and the same light of respect. So, of course, our ali'i was born, Kamehameha Paea. He was taken to Avili, raised by Kahaupulani. And I can give you a little bit of mana'o of our newspaper articles, and we were just talking about that outside, that there was a moment that Kamaka Stillman, if you get a moment to look through those old Palapala newspaper, that she was the one who went and wrote to the newspaper article people, and all throughout Hawaii in the 1800s and back into the 1900s, that some of the stories that you may know of the birth of our king is not what you think you might know. Because it is the family who have kept it the way it is said and taught for these years and years to come through Mele and Oli. And so our kuleana was to malama that ike, and not that the others were not pololei. It is always, like I said, different versions of the same child. So, and we respect all of that, without any doubt. It is so true. So, in this mo'olelo, or this storytelling of the birth of our ali'i, it is said through Kekuiapuiwa, the mother of Kamehameha, her cousin, Naiole, and these are her two cousins, Kahaupulani, the one who nursed Kamehameha, her twin brother, Kahakawaia'ea. Earlier we heard the word outside that somebody was trying to pronounce the name Kahakawaia'ea. Well, that is the name, Kahakawaia'ea. He was actually the kahuna nui for Alapa'i Nui. So he and Kahaupulani, the one who nursed Kamehameha, were twins. These four cousins made a plan to help save the life of our ali'i. And so that is done in an oli called Hanau Keli. And together, when they planned to malama the child, along with Hikui Kikulono on the night of his birth, who would move the signs while Naiole would be running Kamehameha from one place to the other. In his Oli Hanau, and I haven't heard of any other, there may be, and this is a good time to ask, maybe there are other versions of his Oli Hanau that may have said that he was born in other places. Maybe at Mo'okini, maybe at Umivai. There is stories of him being born at Umivai, right in front of Mo'okini Heiau. But it says she came across the ocean along the canoe. The birthing pains are happening. The first blood was dropped in Koko'iki. We all know that, the birthplace of Kamehameha. But there's also this Oli Hanau that we all chant, which is Hanau Keli o Keku Iapuiwa. And it speaks about his birth being in Aina Kea. And we can relate that to Aina Kea, right here in our beautiful town of Kohala, but we also can relate that as Aina Kea, that was a sacred land and a sacred place for this entire ohana. It seemed like when you read the documentation, it was in this chant, it says, it was in every ali'i that many ali'is came from these ali'i wahine, these women of royalty, as well as that entire place of Aina Kea was once a compound for those ali'i. And that's why sometimes people say, oh, Aina Kea kind of, yeah, because it had a lot of depth in Aina Kea. A lot of deep things were happening there in Aina Kea. And so they would say, Kamehameha's hand would be reaching out towards Aina Kea. That is exactly it, honoring his parents. Now, we all know where the statue is today is not where it originally was, right? So for those of us who know, it was actually right across of Aina Kea. So in this mele, or in this oli, which again I'm going to impose on them. Maybe you guys like sit over here with me, girls. Come, very cute. Look at them, give me that. We're gonna chant for you the Oli Hanau for our ali'i kamehameha. You know, I tell her, honey, I mean, sing with you yesterday, so today you're gonna help me, honey. Come. So we are so honored because it is not just through myself. I am so honored to be here and everything that I do with hula and music. Yes, it is my parents who have taught me everything that I know about music, hula. Tomorrow, my brother Sonny will be here, and he's the one who really taught us how to play music. But I'm also my hula lineage and who I am and everything that I know in my hula is because of my sister, my kumuhula nui, my sister Nani. Please give her a warm mahalo. Yes. Thank you, Nani. And what's beautiful about that was my sister Nani said to me, Lorna, it's time for you to go home to Kohala and time for you to teach the Kohala, teach them their mele. Teach those meles that need to be taught in our hometown. Teach our children to be proud of who their kupuna was and teach us to be proud of this place, Kohala, and one of the greatest ali'is that united the Hawaiian Islands. There's a purpose for that. So, I'm going to ask my girls to give us the Hanau Keli'i. All right, Hikino, guys, you like to stay over there? Okay, yeah. Look, they're telling them too. Okay, you guys too if you can, okay. You know, I must give you guys cheers, come sit over here afterwards. Look at me, they're telling me no. Hikino, okay. We're going to have 1 hour, okay, guys. Okay. Hanau Keli'i. Hanau ke ali'i ke kuia poi vai nā kolokalani vele hukamala mai kuliula la pamalo ko ilaila ina ke kokohi ke malo ko ilaila hanau kalani nui meha meha ka ho elio ke kapu ke puliko liko ke kapu ina ha malo ko mai o aina ke ye ve ali ilala pamalo ko o ke kuia poi va o kamando nui kapulala ke o ke ali o kapali nui ki e o malukalani e kahanavini e iana ya kalani nui meha me undende la ka kimna o kapali e kune e uli huna maluno pai ea ka hula anana avini iho au anambe ke ahiala ka o pai ea ali e oe. So in the birth of that mele, or in that beautiful oli hanau kamehameha, hanau keli o ke kuiapo i waina kolokalani vele hukamalama i kuliu i la lapa maloko i laila o aina kea. It is said on that night that we all talk about, the night, the thundering storms is the night that he was born in a place of aina kea. It is there, he says, kokohi ke maloko i laila hanau kalani nui meha meha. Kokohi ke maloko means the birthing pains has now come, and it's now time to birth our ali'i. And it is said in that very line, we recognize it as Hanau Kalani Nui Meha Meha. Already he was given his name as Kalani Nui Meha Meha. Ho'ole ke kapu, I puli kuliko ke kapu, I naha maloko mai o aina kea. He was of the highest ranking couples, the highest couples, and the most fiery couples. He was born with the highest of couples and in a place called Ainakea. It is there, and to those of us who are familiar with the mana'o, the word eve, it is from the womb that many other more and more children will be born to this royal lineage. And the word lalapa is like lightning. These children that are going to come from these royal people, these royal ali'is that we're talking about in the sacred place of Ainakea, they will be the children that are ferocious, they're strong, they're fire-like. They're going to be just like Kamehameha himself. And indeed, in the end, it says, "Kamano nui kapulala kea." It is one of my most favorite lines of that oli. Kamano nui kapulala kea is that he was indeed a shark that would be like no other, fearless and ferocious. Kamano nui kapulala kea, that lala kea, that white-tipped fin shark. And he would be fearless. His eyes would be just like that. And that is one of my most favorite lines of the entire Oli. Then it says, Mehehulu nene la kahakimanawa o kapalie kunei. He was plucked out of the arms of his mother like a gentle feather and taken to a place called Avini. And so when they tell you, he was traveling along the way, this only solidifies for our family that he was taken directly to Avini. He was cared for right away, because it says in this only there as well. Mehehulu nene la kahakim lava o kapalie kunei. He ulihuna maluno paia. That word ulihuna means it was to be hidden, like the word kahuna. The word huna means to. The story is, he was to be hidden, the child. He ulihuna maluno paia kahahuna na avini. There again, the place called Avini, and in the end, he would be called paia. And it said within this oli that it was a family who named him paia. So that's the beauty of today's talk. I wanted to share a little bit of our history through Mele Kava Kahiko, Oli Kava Kahiko, and Oli of the days of Kava, the days of old, and especially honoring not just our king, but the people who played an important role in his life. And you know, when we do our La Kamehameha event every year, sometimes people ask, why this, why that? So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of drop a little, what would you say, Kawai Kapu would say, a little bit of spice, a little inamona in the stew, or inamona in your poke. You know, you're going to give a little bit extra spice in the stew. And the reason, or the poke, is because, let me just share a little bit of those treasures, or a little bit of diamonds in the rough. But the reason why there's things that happen at La Kamehameha, these ceremonies that happened early in the morning, was because that was the time that he was brought back to the court of Alapa'inui, in the darkness, in the safety of the covered night. So that's why those ceremonies are done in that way. And the ceremony is not done for the Lahui, because we know that the Lahui stands behind the thought, which means for everyone. They stand behind the thought that it is a sacred thing that is happening. You are all invited, but the performance is not for the audience. It's there to honor our ali'i and our ali'i only. And it's because of mele and chant like this, I feel the kuleana to malama that and keep it as was, because it is not written by me in 2025. It was written in 1700. And to think in 2025, we are still telling the exact same story hundreds of years later. It's an amazing thing. So when we say, why are you guys early in the morning? That is exactly why we're early in the morning, because there's a sacredness about it. We cannot forget that there was a reason why he was to be saved. There was a reason that these four people put their time together to save our ali'i, to make sure that he was destined to be born. He was destined to be our king. He was destined to be the one to unite our islands. Now, I could go deeper than that and even tell you why, but I know there's maybe not enough time, and maybe there should be another time. But I can even tell you why the Ike, all of this prophecy of the king was to be born. But it is because it is kept in our family genealogy. And so just sharing a little bit of our talk story today is delving into our family genealogy, our family story, our family mele, our family books. Not often do we open it up. And so once that chant, Keola Palau Ali'i, was done, Hanau Keli'i came to be, the Mele Hanau Keli'i, the birth of our king. The last thing I want to close off on this segment is why he was, and when he was brought back into the court of Alapa'inui. And so again, early in the morning, we celebrate our mo'ikane. And why are they women? Why are there three women always to be recognized on the pa? Because of these three women who saved his life. So there's a reason why a lot of, I don't want to say foreigner, but a lot of people came from all way and eventually marry our Hawaiian people. But the women really carried a lot of royalty. They were the keepers of a lot, definitely the keepers of the next generation, right? But without us, there would be no next heir. But the mana'o was that these three women, Ke Ku'iapuiwa, Kaha'upulani, along with Hikuiki Kuolono. These women, along with Naiole and Kahakawaya Ea, if they did not do the plan, then for sure there would not be the Hawaii we have. No Kohala and not an Arli'i who have united the islands, who is destined to do so. So in the last oli, I'm going to share with all of you, or the Mele, Ea o Avini Paliali'i Hulana. This is the chant that was brought when Alapa'inu was brought back to the court. When Kamehameha was brought, Pae'e was brought back to the court of Alapa'inui. It is there she shared this oli, which is Ea o Avini Paliali'i Hulana. And in this oli, she said to the king, Alapa'inui, poetically, we're talking about poetry, our kupuna, they spoke beautiful poetry, especially because it is manaleo for them. And when I hear word manaleo, it's not olelo, it's just a word. There's a spirit and a power in the words that was written by our kupuna. But she says, Ea o avini paleli ihulana, inohoana kahaupulani hanawia, paea kiali. It says that there in the beautiful avini is a caretaker, kahaupulani. Hanai anaya paea kiali. She was one who nursed our king. And in this oli, it's so very beautiful. I'm going to ask my vehi for coming in oli me because I'm getting choked up in the words. I'm getting all emotional. So go rock in the chair. Go sit in the rocking chair with me. Go rock in the rocking chair with me. E yo avini paliali ihulana e noho ana kahaupulani. He fed Pael. He came from the womb of Kekuyapuiva. There they lived in Ainake. He is a chiefly one. He will be a ni'opio. The light or the fire, the child is alive. He is indeed alive. Alive indeed. There is the uplands of Avini, the cliffs of Hulani, of the Kauai bird. There many chiefs have come. The heat of the land, the rumbling of the sky. There are many chiefs of Avini. A place called Kiahela. He was there, fed Umihulu Makau Kalani. He was fed the handsome Pael by Kahaupulani, the rumbling heavens, and the voice, the crackling in the sky. In the dark night, yes, he came to us. There at Avini, his piko was cut. There in Kiahialaka, he was fed. There in Kahaupulani, he was fed from her. He is a ni'opio, a royal child. O kukui alalapa hevela e. O kukui alalapa hevela e. Hevela no e. It says in the end, the child is indeed alive. Mahalo. Thanks. Let's go in a rocking chair. So Okukui Alalapa poetically says that the child is indeed alive. And so in the end, it softened the heart of Alapa'inui. And he embraced Kamehameha at the age of 5 and welcomed him into his court. And that is a part of our history, a part of our family kuleana to share Ea Ovini Paleli Ihulana, Hanau Keli Uke Kuyapoiva, as well as Keola Palawali'i. All of these fiery chants for our Ali'i Kamehameha Pae'ea. She's going to be mad at me. I'll make her sit down one last time. But, yes, Keolu. You know what I love? When our parents gave us the look, we just move, yeah. You know what I mean? And we're just laughing at that. But, I give her, she goes, I got it. I never have to beat them. We all had this one, when we was young. Okay. So this last oli, before we go into other things that we can share as well. The last oli is one of my favorites indeed to share, is when she, Kahaopulani, left Kamehameha at the court of Alapa'inui. She did an oli called Uakua Maila.
I don't usually do this.
I know. Aya o alailima, aya o yene.
No, you should just say that. You can just say that usually the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, you know, just the first poke
No,
of
I
it.
know I can do it, but
Yeah.
you should just
Yeah.
share with him
Oh,
that when
yes.
we do it
You
Commemorative
see.
Day, we have
Yes.
the family of Kohala. Not me.
I love that my
That's how
children, you see, my kids, they're on it. I love it. You know, that's why I know if anything happened, my kulia is well taken care of. Yes, my lovely. So what she's saying is that usually it is chanted by the family. And because the Pula Pula, or the descendants of Kaha'upulani, still exist today, there's usually one chanter in our halal that still carries on and does this oli, which is Le'ilima. I know she's Pa'ahana Ke Manava, she's, you know, but this oli, Uakua Maila, is given to Alapainui to by Kaha'upulani, the nurse again, to Kahuhanai, she said, a Kahuhanai who nursed our ali'i. And then she says to him, now go and be the king you should be. And just those words, when we say it at 5 a.m. in the morning, and it's the daylight is cracking before us and the day is awakening, and all of this ceremony is happening for Kamehameha Day, that chant brings us all to tears. If you can be a mom and realizing you're going to let your child, this baby you raised, you took care of, you nursed, you malama as your own, and now he has to go and become this great warrior. Not sure what his life is going to be. There's going to be a lot of challenges. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen for him. But I want you to go, and I will allow you to go and let you go. In the last line, it says, Alaniho. Yeah, Pehea, she said, how will you be? Pehea, walaniho. Walaniho, waliho, walaniho, which means you will indeed be a great king, a new king, but one nonetheless, a king. So one of my most favorite things, and so again at our La Kamehameha, there's a lot of things that the committee has helped to put into, help to facilitate to make sure that we keep those traditions of the past, the pa and that area around the king to be blessed. We don't need another king to be walking down in the parade because there is one already. What's important is to remember all the people who played an important role in his lifetime. The women, Keli Hulumamu, the women who did his ahu'ula, you can feel their love and their protection in every feather that was woven into his cape. You knew all these women knew that this child, once they knew he was coming, they started making his cape and they knew that they had to protect him. It was a unification thing. Until today, it is still our thing to malama, the integrity of our king, the integrity of that ceremony, the integrity of why we do it the way we do. And we're very, very grateful that, you know, till today, we're so grateful that those who are helping us to malama our Kamehameha Day celebration, because it is, for some places, a real paradey kind of thing, but not for us in here in Kohala. At least for us in the morning, it is not that. It is all about who are we talking about, why we are here, not about what's going to happen later. Because if we forget that, then we forget what we're here for. What is Kohala all about? What is the most important thing? When you hear Kohala, everybody, oh, it's Kamehameha the Great. Yes, let's not forget that. So I'm grateful to my sisters, both of my kumuhula, who told me, go home, teach them their mele, teach the families who they are, so they can be proud of who they are, who their lineage is, what role they played in our changes of Kohala, why Kohala is it's a good thing to do is look back in our genealogy, go find our kupuna, see what they was all about. See what Kohala meant to them. What was different? What did they do in our beautiful town? Because everybody means something special here in Kohala. So this last Oli, as Vehi said, it was important that the family chants this. Usually our lovely Lei Ilima does it. And so we usually just do the first verse. But in the last couple of years, every now and then, I open up my archive, and then you find 3 more verses. And I open up an archive again, and I look through and another 3 more verses. But it tells you of what these women and the royal family and how special our beautiful Kohala is. Places like Mo'okini, places like Ainakea, all of these things play an important role. And Again, mahalo for that. We'll go to the rest. Ready, baby? Ua koa mai la. Ali iho ala.
Ua ko mai la ko e ui ui a kia waloa ke kane nā kuka manuolo no au ia nei ui ui a kai kouku e ulu e lana nali ke kuali o nali e kue pehe ala
Pehea ua lani ho, ali ho, lani ho e. Ua ikea. And so that last line, ua ikea, in Hawaiian says, and so it is. So again, mahalo nui for letting me share that part of our kohala. No, go ahead. You see, one is chanting and the other is telling me,